Have you ever wondered why others keep staring at you, trying to be near you, while you feel there's nothing particularly special about you? Many people, especially women, go through life unaware that they exude a profound, mysterious, almost metaphysical allure. It's not about conventional beauty, nor is it about polished social skills or charisma learned from social media. It's a primal energy, a part of your authentic self that Carl Jung referred to as the system of unconscious archetypes we all carry within us. In truth, the most powerful attraction doesn't come from what you try to project. Jung didn't view people through their outer shell. He looked into the deepest recesses of the soul, where beauty, allure, and that unforgettable quality are born. And here's the magical discovery Jung made. The less you realize your allure, the more you radiate an authentic, irresistible, and enigmatic charm. In this video, I'll share with you 12 subtle signs that prove you are far more captivating than you've ever thought. Some of these signs are so delicate that you may have unconsciously overlooked them for years. But once you recognize them, you'll never see yourself the same way again. Stay tuned, because sign number 9 will make you rethink all the relationships that have ever left you puzzled. Sign 1. Men become flustered or awkward around you. This is one of the most genuine signs, yet it's also the most underestimated. Often, when a man acts clumsily, avoids eye contact, or even seems slightly irritated, you might assume he's uninterested. But in reality, the opposite is true. You captivate him more than he can handle. When a man encounters a profound feminine energy, especially one that stems not from superficial sensuality, but from your authentic, intuitive, and instinctual presence, he feels out of control. This isn't a rational response. It's neurological. Some subtle signs you might notice. He adjusts his collar, fidgets with his sleeves, speaks faster than usual, avoids your gaze, or falls completely silent. This isn't a lack of confidence. It's his body signaling overload. Experimental psychology reveals that when people's deep emotions are triggered in ways they don't fully understand, their sympathetic nervous system becomes activated. Their heart races, palms sweat, and the brain temporarily disconnects logical thinking from action. In this context, you are the trigger. Not because you're intimidating, but because you awaken an unconscious image, what Jung called the anima in a man's psyche, the archetype of the ideal woman within him. You don't need to dress extravagantly, speak charmingly, or try to appear clever. It's simply your presence, whole, authentic, unguarded, that shakes the other person's defenses. So, if you notice him avoiding your gaze, struggling for words, or acting as if you make him uncomfortable, don't assume you've done something wrong. Understand this. He's confronting something he can't yet grasp, his own true emotions. A tough man may become vulnerable. A confident man may grow cautious, not because you scare him, but because you make him realize he's no longer the center of his universe. Many assume that if a man doesn't easily strike up a conversation or open up, he's not interested. But look closer. Awkwardness is the wordless instinct of a soul being touched. When someone doesn't know how to act around you, it's because something in you has stirred them awake. That awkwardness is a powerful sign, and trust me, you're making a profound impact. Most importantly, don't dim your light to make him feel more at ease. Instead, embrace that power. Because if a man becomes flustered around you, It's because he sees something in you worth more than a casual conversation. Sign 2. People keep looking at you, even when you're not dressed to stand out. If awkwardness is the unconscious reflex to being awakened, then a lingering gaze, especially a second glance, is undeniable proof that you've left a psychological ripple. When a truly captivating woman, unaware of her allure, moves through a space, her surroundings feel it. You might think you're just walking, entering a cafe, or standing in line. But from a man's perspective, something about you draws attention. It's not just a passing glance. The truly significant moment is the second look, when they've passed by and turned back. Do you know what that means? Something about you left an impression so strong that one glance wasn't enough. That second look is the most honest way a man or even another woman acknowledges that you have something special. It's a primal reaction. Jung described this as a reflection of the unconscious image you evoke. You're not just a woman passing by. You're a living symbol of something they lack, crave, or have lost. This allure isn't about your hair, curves, or makeup. It's in the way you move. It's in your eyes, not seeking, not challenging, but fully aware, aware of yourself. And that awareness creates a magnetic field that compels others to look again. You're not trying to do anything. You simply are, and the unconscious does the rest. Jung believed that within each of us lie ancient archetypal images. You might be living as the archetype of the lover, not because you're seductive in a societal sense, but because you live with passion, openness, and the ability to awaken desire in others. Perhaps you're the healer, gentle, serene, making those around you feel seen and soothed. Or maybe you embody the mother, nurturing, profound, making others feel they've come home. Whatever archetype you embody, when it shines through you authentically, it creates resonance, and others' unconscious minds recognize the image they've dreamed of, lost, lacked, or longed for. You may not notice this. You're busy thinking about work, bills, or daily trivialities. But someone across the room is grappling with an inexplicable emotion. That's the hallmark of archetypal energy. When no explanation is needed, others still feel you. Pause for a moment. Take a deep breath. And recall, has someone ever turned to look at you a second time? Once, a woman shared with me, "At work, I just wear a plain white t-shirt, jeans, and tie my hair back. I feel completely unremarkable compared to other women. Yet somehow, so many men in the office notice me." She didn't understand why. But Jung would. He'd say that the essence of your energy doesn't need clothing to manifest. If you live true to your being, you'll be seen, not by the masses, but by souls sensitive to what's real. Sign 3. You don't see yourself as special, but you're often complimented. The greatest irony of deep allure is this: those who possess it are often unaware of it. After the second glances and hesitant behaviors from others, you might retreat to your old mindset. They're just looking at me. I'm nothing special. You brush off compliments as mere politeness. You don't believe you radiate allure because your inner world is still shadowed by self-doubt, which Jung saw as an essential part of the individuation journey. Think back to the last time you felt off: messy hair, simple clothes, no makeup, and a lackluster mood. Yet someone looked at you, smiled, or said something surprising like, "You look so captivating." You laughed it off, thinking they were mistaken or just being polite. However, if different people at different times repeatedly say similar things, it's time to pause and listen seriously. No one can consistently create an illusion for others. Attraction doesn't repeat itself so consistently unless it's real. What's even more telling is that this allure doesn't come from being prepared, but from letting go of all effort. When you stop chasing standards, your archetypal energy is unleashed, unmasked by societal facades. Jung believed true beauty lies not in appearance, but in the harmony between the outer self and the inner soul. People are drawn to those who live authentically because, in this artificial world, authenticity is the rarest luxury. You don't need to be beautiful by standards. You need to live in harmony with your essence. When you do, your body, voice, and movements become living expressions of the archetype you carry. You don't see yourself as special because you're looking through eyes conditioned to doubt. But others, those with deep inner lives, don't see with ordinary eyes. If you keep dismissing sincere compliments, you're unconsciously denying the light you radiate. Sign 4. People approach you for trivial reasons. When you start accepting that your allure lies not in perfection, but in authentic presence, you'll notice an interesting phenomenon. People frequently come to you with seemingly insignificant reasons, as if they're grasping for an excuse to connect. A question about something obvious, a simple request for help, a fleeting need that doesn't seem necessary. But pay attention. Why do they choose you? Jung would answer, because you're a conduit for a connection their rational mind dares not name. You don't need to be close, you might not even know them, yet somehow you become a doorway for others to step into themselves, or at least escape their usual emotional numbness. They approach you instinctively, not because you're the most helpful, but because you create an energy field that's approachable, yet profound, a space between light and shadow, the mundane and the mysterious. A man in the office asks you how to use the fax machine, even though he's done it before. A colleague asks you to fix their cuff, borrow a pen, or give trivial advice. A guy texts you about a movie you're watching, though he doesn't care about cinema. You find it amusing, but don't realize that each small interaction is an excuse to approach you safely. Have you experienced this? If so, share a small moment like this in the comments, because these seemingly trivial details are the secret codes showing you're more captivating than you think. Psychology suggests that men, when drawn to a woman, will find excuses to start a conversation, to get closer without revealing their intentions too obviously. This is especially true when a woman's presence feels slightly overwhelming or intimidating due to her allure. They won't directly compliment you, but will show up with minor questions just to be near you. And it's not just once. If you notice someone repeatedly finding reasons to text, call, approach, or linger around you for small things, that's a clear sign. The request itself isn't what matters. It's the intention behind it. You might not notice or even find it endearing. But look closer. These trivialities are excuses for something bigger, a desire to be near you, to connect, to capture your attention. Understand this. Their initiative lies not in their words, but in their persistence. No one repeatedly asks a stranger for help unless they feel safe in your presence. And that safety doesn't come from an approachable exterior, but from an emotional depth that makes them unable to stay away. So, the next time someone asks for help with something they could easily handle themselves, Notice if it comes with a shy smile, a different tone, or a lingering glance. Because sometimes, "How do I do this?" really means, "I don't know how to approach you, so I'm using this excuse." Sign 5. Some women distance themselves, envy, or criticize you unreasonably. Not everyone responds to you with admiring glances or roundabout questions to get closer. The stronger your archetypal energy, the more you'll encounter another kind of reaction, confrontation, avoidance, or baseless criticism from others of your gender. This isn't pleasant, but we must face it honestly. Carl Jung once said, "Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves." What bothers others about you often has little to do with you and everything to do with their unhealed wounds. When you carry yourself with calm, natural authenticity, without trying to prove anything, you unconsciously trigger comparison in others. If they're not strong enough to face it, they'll take the easier path, putting you down to lift themselves. Have you experienced this? A woman you're not close to makes a snide remark about your clothing. A friend you trusted starts to distance herself or compete with you over trivial matters. Comments like, "Who does she think she is, acting so aloof?" Even though you said nothing, did nothing to show off. What they can't stand isn't you, but what you stir in them, the shadow of their insecurities, envy, and unhealed pain. Jung called this shadow projection, projecting one's unacknowledged inner darkness onto others. When a woman hasn't embraced her beauty, freedom, or femininity, she tends to push those rejected parts outward and pin them on someone else. If you happen to embody what she dares not live, you inadvertently become a target. Understand this: their reaction isn't your fault. You don't need to shrink yourself to make others feel more comfortable. Jung emphasized that in the individuation process, we must learn to endure being misunderstood to stay true to our essence. When you dare to be yourself, despite criticism or isolation, you're taking the first steps toward becoming your true self. Sign 6. Strangers smile at you for no apparent reason. Have you ever been walking down the street, in a supermarket, or on public transport, and suddenly someone, especially a man, smiles at you for no clear reason? If you've experienced this, know that it's not random. It's a primal response of the human soul to something it can't name but feels. Carl Jung believed we don't merely interact through words, gestures, or appearances. Most human connections happen in the unconscious, where energy meets energy, not form meets form. When you live true to your essence, you radiate an aura that others sense without touch, without hearing your voice, without even knowing your name. That's what prompts their smile, a spark of something they've long forgotten. This allure isn't about appearance, it's about the frequency you emit. Jung called this emanation, a radiance from the core of your being. Someone living authentically, without pretense or suppression, creates a magnetic field that makes others feel at ease, touched by something real. They're unconscious, always hungry for truth, recognizes you even when their rational mind is distracted by the crowd. True beauty doesn't demand that others stop and stare. It makes them instinctively want to connect, to smile, to send a small signal to be seen and seen in return. In an increasingly cold world, every smile you receive on the street isn't mere politeness. It's a rare response from the world saying, "Hey, I feel you." And the key is, you don't need to do anything to earn this. You just need to stop denying your presence. Step into the world as if you're a living symbol, not with arrogance or pretense, but as an embodiment of an awakening archetypal energy. Perhaps it's the softness of the nurturer, the stillness of the healer, or the vibrancy of the free spirit. When you live in tune with that frequency, the world responds with what you never asked for: attention, admiration, and genuine smiles. We're halfway through today's signs. Your presence here is a huge encouragement for us in our journey to bring Jung's authentic philosophical insights to more people. So, please like and share this video to spread these lessons to your loved ones and friends, or leave a comment saying, "I cherish my life," if you're ready for the journey through the next 6 signs. Sign 7. Even men in relationships find it hard to look away from you. I know what I'm about to say might make you feel uneasy, perhaps even uncomfortable, but we must face this truth. When a woman possesses a truly captivating energy, her presence cannot be ignored, and sometimes even men in stable relationships can't help but glance at you. I'm not saying this is right, nor am I suggesting you intentionally cause it, but it happens, and it happens more often than you might think. You're at a gathering on the street or in a cafe, and suddenly you notice a lingering gaze, longer than usual, from someone not single. Though they often try to hide it, knowing they shouldn't, their body betrays them. Because attraction isn't always controllable, especially when it's sparked by something beyond the surface, something felt. You must remember this. You're not causing those looks. It's your essence, your presence, the way you exist. This doesn't mean you should feel uneasy or guilty. On the contrary, it's clear evidence that your feminine energy is powerful, magnetic, and irresistible, even to those who should restrain themselves. Jung believed that within every man exists an ideal feminine image, the anima, a constellation of emotions, intuition, inner beauty, vitality, and spiritual depth. This isn't a real person. It's a symbol, an image carried in the unconscious from childhood, shaped by mothers, influential women, and the collective unconscious. Then, in an unexpected moment, when a woman passes by with that exact energy, the anima is activated. He doesn't understand what's happening, but his body, his eyes, his emotions, they all respond. Jung once said, "We meet ourselves time and again in 1,000 disguises on the path of life." So, when a man in a stable relationship can't help but look at you, it's not because you're a third party. It's because the energy you radiate directly touches the anima within him. A part of his partner may no longer be reached. The key point is, you're not trying to do this. You're simply living true to yourself, naturally embodying an archetype his unconscious recognizes as something it's waited for its entire life. It's not because you're more beautiful than his partner. It's because you're the ideal image in his mind. Sign 8. You receive a lot of attention on social media, even without showing off. This is something I believe men notice, even if you don't always understand why. You post a simple photo, no exaggerated poses, no flaunting your body, no deliberate attempt to draw attention, yet the messages pour in, likes pile up, and responses keep coming. Does this sound familiar? You wonder what's so special about that photo, but it's not the photo, it's you. When a woman is truly captivating, she doesn't need to show off to make an impression, because the allure lies not just in what's seen, but in what's conveyed. Your authenticity, your gaze, the way you naturally exist, All of it creates a vibration that transcends the screen. Trust me, men feel it. Some even hesitate, unsure how to handle such potent feminine energy wrapped in something so subtle. The fascinating thing is that many of you don't notice this. You think you need to do more, reveal more, edit more. But your real power lies in how naturally you exist. Whether you're in a simple t-shirt, without makeup, or sharing an ordinary moment, the attention you receive without seeking it is one of the clearest signs that you're more captivating than you realize. Pause for a moment. When was the last time you posted something ordinary and received unexpected attention? Energy doesn't need physical space to be felt. It seeps through the look in your eyes, through your wordless demeanor, through the emotional frequency you unconsciously infuse into everything you share. So even without being overtly sensual, flirting, or trying to score points, you make others pause, look closer, and unable to scroll past. Let's be honest. Most of us are exhausted by artificial beauty, calculated seduction, and overly curated messages. That's why when someone appears radiating an authentic presence, they become a living symbol, a psychological anchor in a noisy sea. You may not be the social media beauty queen. You don't follow trends. You don't use fancy filters. But you're the one people remember when they're tired of pretense. The attention you receive without seeking it is one of the clearest signs that you're more captivating than you think. Sign 9. Men get close to you, then disappear. Just as your presence can make strangers turn to look or prompt others to smile for no reason, it can also create a more complex effect. People approach you with sincere eyes and clear interest, then suddenly vanish, only to return later, as if no time has passed. You don't understand what just happened, and you start questioning, is he playing with me? What does he want? But pause there. In Carl Jung's analytical psychology, this isn't a game of emotions. It's the reaction of a soul stirred beyond the control of the ego. When a man approaches you, not merely for your appearance, but because you've touched the deepest part of him, a part he hasn't faced directly, you cease to be just a woman. You become a symbol, a doorway to repressed emotions, to a soul yet to be named. And what happens when someone isn't ready to face their inner self? They run. Not because you're wrong, not because they don't like you, but because you make them see themselves too clearly, too quickly, too raw. Jung said, "The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely. Many can't bear it. So they retreat, then return, then retreat again, like waves hesitating between crashing onto the shore or dissolving quietly." A woman once told me, he and I were intensely drawn to each other, texting every day, meeting every day, sharing a warm presence. Then suddenly, he disappeared. No texts, no goodbye. Weeks later, he reappeared as if nothing had happened. When you make someone feel something too real, too elusive, too beyond ordinary logic, their first instinct is to defend themselves. Sometimes with silence, sometimes by turning away. It's the ego's defense system, not yet ready for the truth. But when the distance cools and the echo of your energy lingers in them, they return, not to pursue a relationship, but to test whether that feeling was real or just an illusion. And once again, they're overwhelmed by the emotions you evoke. You don't need to spiral into explaining, judging, or fixing it. Jung made it clear. Every deep relationship is a mirror. The other person is seeing themselves in you, and their actions are a response to that reflection. You can't control their behavior, but you can control how much you hurt yourself over it. So, if someone comes and goes like the tide, don't think you're not captivating enough. You might be so captivating that they don't know what to do with what they feel. Sometimes, their retreat isn't an end. It's the first step in their self-awareness, and you just happen to spark it. Sign 10. You often doubt your worth. If the previous section explored how you unsettle others because they don't understand what they feel, this one touches on an even deeper paradox. You, the source of all this resonance, are unaware of the power you hold. And that very unawareness, that lack of effort, becomes fertile ground for an irresistible allure. Carl Jung believed each of us carries a profound center called the self, our true essence. But between that essence and daily life lies a mask Jung called the persona, the image we use to be accepted by society. When you live too long in that mask, you forget who you truly are. The irony is, many only begin to shine when they stop trying to shine. You don't think you're special. You see yourself as ordinary. But because you're not forcing it, you reveal a primal light, undistorted. And that light, though quiet, is piercing. When you don't see your power, it's not because it's absent, it's because you're immersed in it. Like an eye that can't see itself, light cannot shine upon itself. So you move through the world honestly, thinking you're ordinary, while those around you are stirred by something you haven't yet named. Jung emphasized, true power doesn't come from imposing on others, but from overcoming yourself. Not everyone has the awareness to understand this kind of allure. Many only feel that you're different in a way they can't analyze. But you'll know when others treat you with special care, when they're flustered without knowing why, or when their eyes say more than their words. And one final thing. Don't wait for someone to validate your power before you believe in it. Jung wrote, your vision will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. When you start looking directly at yourself, without denial, without downplaying, without doubt, you'll see. You've always been more powerful than you thought. And because you don't know you're captivating, you're all the more captivating for it. Sign 11. When you leave, the space feels empty. You may not believe this, but sometimes your allure lies not in what you do when present, but in the sense of loss others feel, only after you've left. This is the deepest, quietest, yet irreplaceable form of attraction, what Jung called the soul's impact on its surroundings. If we previously explored the paradox of your unawareness amplifying your allure, here we go a layer deeper. The energy you leave behind when you're no longer present. It's as if the space suddenly loses a light. The warmth, the way you make things flow, is suddenly gone, and people feel it. A conversation, after you step away, suddenly cools. A group of friends, after you quietly leave, no longer holds the same rhythm. Carl Jung believed each person carries a unique, emotional energy field, and those closest to their self radiate a stable, whole energy that balances the space around them. This is a special kind of presence, one that doesn't demand attention, but leaves an impact. You don't need to speak much. You don't need to try to inspire. You just need to be authentic, unpretentious. And strangely, that leaves an echo in others' hearts, a sweet emptiness that makes them realize something's missing. Jung believed that when someone achieves inner harmony, their energy no longer depends on actions or expressions. It becomes part of the atmosphere. When they leave, the silence they leave behind speaks volumes. Their absence is as meaningful as their presence. Sign 12. The silence around you isn't awkward but intense. If your absence leaves an echo, your silence, when present, is the densest form of presence. Listen closely, because few women realize this, but men feel it vividly. When a truly captivating woman is present, she doesn't need to fill every moment with words. Her presence creates a powerful, enveloping energy that makes even silence magnetic. Have you ever been with someone, and a moment of silence arises, yet they don't leave, don't get distracted, don't check their phone, just stay there with you as if nothing else is needed? That's not random. It's attraction in its purest form. It's not that he doesn't know what to say, it's that he's processing what he feels about you. He might not voice it, but inside he's thinking, "Why do I feel so at ease just looking at her? How can someone affect me so deeply without saying a word?" Comfort in silence, intensity without effort, can only come from a woman radiating something beyond appearance. Carl Jung wrote, "In all chaos there is a cosmos, in all disorder, a secret order." In a world where everyone rushes, someone who can sit still, say nothing, avoid showing off wisdom, or force connection becomes a quiet center that makes others feel safe. Silence, in you, is depth breathing, without need for translation. You're not trying to be mysterious. You're living at a different rhythm, the rhythm of someone who listens to the space, who accepts others without demanding they become something. And that makes you dangerous to sensitive souls. You allow others to be themselves without trying. In that silence, they see themselves. Jung said silence doesn't sever connection. It's where true connection is born. And you, steady enough to embrace silence, offer others a gift, to be present with someone who deepens the world without doing anything. Now I want to know, how many of these signs have you noticed in your daily life? Have you ever caught someone looking at you differently or received attention you didn't understand? Share with me in the comments, because I want to hear your story. Sometimes what you don't see in yourself, others feel intensely, and sharing can help you uncover the hidden power within you. Carl Jung left us a profound truth. You are what you do, not what you say you'll do. True allure doesn't lie in promises, plans, or rehearsed expressions. It's in how you move through the world, calm yet centered. You're most captivating when you're not trying to be someone else, but simply daring to be fully present as yourself. And if, after hearing these signs, you realize you've been misunderstood, dimmed your light, or thought you were too much or not enough, it's time to understand. You've never lacked allure. You just haven't seen it through your own true eyes. If this video has helped you see yourself from a new perspective, if it's shown you that something in you doesn't need explanation or proof, don't leave, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications today, so we can continue this journey together in future videos. Have you ever walked into a room and felt the atmosphere shift? A glance lingers on you longer than usual. Someone becomes cautious, awkward, or keeps their distance for no clear reason. Many people grow up feeling different, constantly misunderstood, or like their presence alone makes others uncomfortable. But the truth might be the opposite. When you live authentically as yourself, you emit a powerful kind of energy. And that energy, invisibly, touches something deep within the consciousness of those around you. Carl Jung, the great psychologist who devoted his life to studying the collective unconscious, once said that every meeting between two individuals is a chemical reaction. If there's interaction, both are changed. In other words, your genuine presence can stir, unsettle, or even make others uncomfortable, not because you're wrong, but because you awaken parts of themselves they haven't acknowledged. You're not too different. You're not in the wrong place. You're simply being true to who you are. And not everyone is ready for that, especially when they're still avoiding their inner depths. In this video, we'll explore 11 signs that your energy field is so strong it can make others feel uneasy. Not to boost the ego, but to understand yourself more deeply, live with more awareness, and create truly sincere connections with the world around you. Number 1. Understanding aura through Jung's perspective. When people talk about aura, many tend to think of it as a vague, mystical concept. But for Carl Jung, it was not some metaphysical light, but rather a psychological energy field radiating from someone who is living in alignment with their true nature. It's invisible, yet it has a powerful impact on the unconscious minds of others. Jung believed that within every person exists hidden parts he called the shadow. These are fears, wounds, desires, shame, everything the ego refuses to acknowledge. Most people push it into the unconscious, thinking that by doing so, they have control. But in reality, what is denied continues to operate quietly, influencing emotions, behaviors, even the way we perceive others. When someone has done serious inner work, meaning they have faced, accepted, and reconciled with their shadow as well as their internal archetypes, they are no longer blinded by the ego. They emit a different kind of energy, one that doesn't try to attract attention, yet causes everything around them to shift. Jung called this transformational energy, the force that helps a person step into the process of individuation, the journey of becoming their whole self. The issue is, not everyone is ready to face that light. Because true light doesn't just illuminate beauty, it reveals the shadows. When you enter a space with a strong energy field, others don't just see you, they start to see themselves. And if what's inside them is still avoidance, the natural response is to withdraw, defend, or even attack. That's why, when you live authentically, some people will feel drawn to you, inspired even, while others will feel uncomfortable or turn away altogether. That says nothing about you. It simply means you've become a catalyst for awakening, and not everyone is ready to wake up. Number 2. 11 signs your aura is making others uncomfortable. 1. People are either drawn to you or avoid you for no clear reason. Some people only need to enter a room and the atmosphere instantly shifts. It's not because they're loud or trying to get attention, but simply because their presence carries a kind of energy that others can't help but react to. If you've noticed, people are either immediately drawn to you, eager to listen, to be near you, while others become cautious, quiet, or look for a way out. It could be that your energy field is creating deep unconscious movement within them. Carl Jung once said, "The unconscious reacts first. The unconscious always responds before the rational mind." When you live in alignment with your true self, with nothing hidden, no people-pleasing, no masks, you emit a kind of energy so honest and clear that others find it hard to maintain their own internal pretending around you. Those who have faced themselves will find that energy inspiring. But those who are still rejecting their pain, their wounds, or their own shadow parts, will find your truth acts like a mirror, and not everyone is ready to look into a mirror. That attraction or avoidance has nothing to do with whether you are liked or not. It has everything to do with how far your energy has reached within someone. You may not have said a single word, but your presence quietly poses a question to their unconscious. Are you living your truth? And for many, that question is too big to answer. 2. You often get attention even when you say nothing. You're not trying to impress anyone. You don't need to be loud, stand out, or seek attention. Yet in many situations, people still turn to look at you, not because of what you do, but because of who you are. This isn't random. Carl Jung believed that in the collective unconscious, the shared layer of psyche connecting all humanity, there exist ancient psychological archetypes. These are energetic patterns passed down through generations, such as the hero, the seeker, the healer, or the wise elder. In the process of psychological growth, each person awakens some part of these archetypes. If you've faced your wounds, stepped out of your comfort zone, and chosen truth over performance, likely, a powerful archetype is now active within you. You might not be able to name it, but the unconscious of others can recognize it. And when they look at you, they're not just seeing you, they're seeing a piece of the collective soul come alive through you. The attention you receive is not necessarily personal. It's a response from a deeper place, from the unconscious in others that longs to be guided, healed, or awakened. You don't need to speak. Your presence alone is enough to stir something. In a group, you may be the quietest person, yet still the center of the energy field. Not because you try, but because something within you has transcended the ego. You become a symbol of a potential that many haven't yet awakened within themselves. And because of that, the looks you get aren't always pleasant. They might be admiration, but they can also be suspicion. More than anything, they're a silent acknowledgement that something in you is making others listen to themselves more closely. 3. Some people get angry, judgmental, or feel threatened when you express your views. If the attention you receive sometimes surprises you, then the negative reactions may be even more confusing. There are moments when you simply speak your mind, and in return you get cold stares, sharp rebuttals, or the distinct feeling that someone is upset with you. In those situations you might wonder, did I say something wrong? But in truth, what you just touched wasn't their logic. It was something deeper, what Carl Jung called the shadow. The shadow contains all the emotions, thoughts, and memories that people don't want to face in themselves. These don't disappear. They're just buried in the unconscious. And the unconscious, as Jung said, doesn't stay silent. It simply waits for someone real and bright enough to awaken it. When you live authentically, when you speak from a place inside you that has made peace with itself, you unintentionally become a mirror. And not everyone is ready to look into that mirror. Imagine a common scenario. In a conversation, you share that you're learning to let go of others' expectations to live more authentically. Someone immediately dismisses it, saying you're selfish or unrealistic. But if you look closely, their reaction may not come from logic. It comes from feeling triggered. You may have just touched a wound they've been ignoring for so long, the pain of living by others' expectations, to the point they can no longer hear their inner voice. Another example, you set a boundary in a relationship. You say no when something feels off. The other person gets angry, calls you cold or unempathetic. But in truth, you just disrupted an old unconscious script. where they expect others to conform, so they don't have to face their own fears of lack or rejection. Jung once said, "Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. When you live authentically, you become that opportunity, but not everyone will receive that opportunity with gratitude. Many will reject it by attacking you, not because they dislike you, but because they aren't ready to face themselves. When you understand this, you no longer get caught in other people's emotions. You see more clearly that anger or judgment isn't truth. It's a sign that a shadow has just been stirred. 4. You easily become the target of envy, comparison, or idealization. Once you begin to see that the truth in your words can reach deep into others, you'll understand why sometimes people get angry, defensive, or judgmental. But not all reactions are negative. Some come in the form of admiration, praise, or even idealizing you. But hidden underneath is a discomfort no one wants to admit. Envy. Carl Jung called this phenomenon projection. At its core, it's when someone attributes to you qualities, emotions, or energies they haven't recognized or don't believe they can embody themselves. And here's the paradox. They admire you and resent you at the same time, because you're living something they feel they can't. You might have experienced this in various ways. For instance, you share your journey of overcoming an inner crisis and finding peace. Someone listens, compliments you for being so deep, so mature, and then slowly withdraws from the relationship. You may feel confused, even hurt, but in truth, they're not leaving because you're wrong, but because you've become too clear a mirror of what they long for but haven't dared to reach. Or you may be the one people often turn to for advice, someone they trust, someone labeled as strong, intelligent, stable. They idealize you and unconsciously project onto you the image of the person they wish to become. And because of that, the moment you show even a bit of vulnerability or fatigue, they might get disappointed, turn away, or judge you as weak, because you've broken the image they projected onto you, and now they're forced to look back at themselves. Jung once said that every relationship is a dialogue between two unconscious minds. In that process, people don't just see you, they see the unfinished parts of themselves through you. And if you live truthfully, naturally, fully, you may unintentionally expose a void inside them. Sometimes you don't need to do anything. Simply being present in your wholeness is enough for others to see what they're lacking, but aren't yet ready to name. 5. You're often tested. People test you without realizing it. When others project their unfulfilled parts onto you, they don't just admire or envy you. Often they also begin to test you, not with bad intentions, but as unconscious responses to the loss of control your presence makes them feel. If you've ever found yourself in situations where someone repeatedly creates tricky scenarios, asks subtly probing questions, or makes seemingly harmless comments that are meant to gauge your reaction, they may be unconsciously testing you. Carl Jung once said, "We are strongly affected by that which has not been made conscious." When you touch something in them that makes them uneasy, but they can't yet understand why, they'll instinctively try to regain control of that feeling, often by trying to control you. For example, you share a major personal decision, like quitting a stable job to pursue your passion. Someone listens quietly, doesn't object, but then starts asking things like, "What if you fail?" Or, "Are you sure you're not just dreaming?" These questions may not carry ill will, but in truth, they're checking if you're truly grounded, or just a fragile illusion in their eyes. Or, in a relationship, you show self-respect and clarity by setting personal boundaries. At first, the other person feels drawn to you, but then they start playing push-pull, testing your consistency by going silent, withdrawing, or stirring up small conflicts. Not because they want to hurt you, but because they're not used to feeling they can't control strong energy in someone else. These tests are rarely deliberate. They're unconscious defense mechanisms arising from a need to soothe an ego that feels shaken. Deep down, they're asking, who is this person? Can I trust them? Will I feel small in their presence? Once you understand this, you stop personalizing these tests. You'll see clearly that they're not a measure of your worth, but a psychological attempt by the other person to steady their sense of self. 6. You make others open up emotionally, even if you've just met. When someone tests you and realizes you're not easily shaken, what often follows is openness. There are times when you've only just met someone, but they're already telling you things they've never shared with anyone else. They talk about childhood wounds, nameless sadness, or hidden desires they are surprised to reveal. And you wonder, why me? Carl Jung once said, in each of us, there is another whom we do not know. He speaks to us in dreams and tells us how differently he sees us from the way we see ourselves. This happens when a powerful archetype is active within you, the wise elder or the healer. It's not a role you try to play, but an energy field you emit. Quiet, deep, empathetic, because you've walked through your darkness. When you've sat with loneliness without running, faced wounds without blaming, learned to listen to yourself instead of pleasing the world, you radiate an energy that makes others feel safe to be honest. For example, you meet a stranger at a gathering. Within minutes, they're telling you about their divorce, the pain of losing someone they loved, or the emptiness they can't describe to anyone else. You're not trying to be a counselor. You didn't dig for it, but your presence becomes spacious enough for them to release what's been weighing on their heart. Another example, a typically private co-worker comes to you one day just to say they feel stuck, lost, and unsure how to keep going. They don't need you to fix it. They just need someone who understands. And somehow, they believe you won't judge them. That's not a coincidence. It's a form of unconscious recognition that Jung believed occurs between souls seeking healing. When you live honestly, deeply and fully with yourself, others sense it, not with ears or eyes, but with the heart. And they know, unconsciously, that with you, they can take off the mask, if only for a moment. 7. Some people start to imitate you or change their behavior after interacting with you. After others open up to you, something interesting often happens. They begin to change. Some become quieter, more thoughtful, or more aware in the way they speak. Some start using phrases similar to yours, enjoy the same kind of music you do, or explore topics you're interested in, often without even realizing they're doing it. Carl Jung explained this phenomenon through a mechanism he called unconscious mirroring. It's when someone is drawn to an energetic layer within you that they haven't yet developed in themselves, and instead of resisting it, they unconsciously try to merge with it by copying, not intellectually, but through a deeper inner resonance. Jung believed that within each person lies the potential for wholeness, but that potential often lies dormant in the unconscious. When someone meets a person who lives more fully in alignment with their true self, their unconscious recognizes it as a kind of calling, a reminder, I can be that too. And so, they begin to change, not because you taught them, but because your energy awakened something asleep within them. For example, you casually mention that you journal every morning to tune into your emotions. A week later, a colleague messages you saying they've started journaling in the mornings, even though they once said it was a pointless activity. It's not that they want to imitate you. It's that your lived truth resonated with their intuition, and the unconscious begins its unfinished work, sinking, adjusting, transforming. Or you reconnect with an old acquaintance